From the campus lights to the game day fight, Texas dust on the boots, packed out stands in the sun. Every school has a story, every season has one. Turn it up, lean in close, hear that crowd start to roll. The Cory Hogue Sports Show, the Cory Hogue Sports Show. Big stories and real conversations, bring the truth, let it roll. The Cory Hogue Sports Show, the Cory Hogue Sports Show. For the schools beyond the spotlight, where the heart of the game still shows.
This is the Cory Hogue Sports Show, and I just saw that this is not working live on Substack today. Did get the same notifications about Facebook and YouTube. Hopefully you are able to tune in there. This will be posted to Substack. After it is complete, I will get that up there so that none of you miss it that want to actually watch. Speaking of Substack, a lot going on these days. I don't know if you've been on there, CoryHogueSports.substack.com. I've got the real cost of competing in the FCS today. Tomorrow, I have another one coming out on the Division II price tag. If you're subscribers and you're a paid subscriber, thank you very, very much. You are supporting some of these things. We'll get to that in just a second. But if you're a paid subscriber, you can read these stories now. If you're a free subscriber, they publish for 2 days until the link will open up for you to read it without having to become a paid subscriber. And for All Stars, those who pay the big price, you get it before anyone else. At least that's what we're back to now, doing that stuff again. Because you guys support it, you guys, your funding, your subscriptions, all that stuff, it goes to help me get to things like Conference USA Media Day yesterday. It helps me keep the stuff that it takes to kind of operate some of these things, keeps that going. This is all put to use on making my coverage of non-FBS better. So that's the focus. So thank you to everyone who has subscribed and paid. And if you haven't, I would appreciate it if you would consider that. Also, make sure you like and subscribe Cory Hogue Sports on YouTube and on Facebook. This way you don't miss anything and get some of those updates. I'm also on March to the Pod, which is why I was at the Conference USA Media Day yesterday. And March to the Pod is starting our 4th season on Thursday. That's tomorrow night, 6 o'clock. Ben Sorrells, he is the man that knows about Sam Houston. He will be joining me again this season. Otherwise, I would have no reason to do it. And there have been some things up on March to the Pod. And some of this, if you're non-FBS, it might interest you. I put up a story yesterday about Conference USA's expansion remaining possible. And we're going to get into some of that here later. A little tease for the rest of the show. We got some of that coming. But before we get back into keeping it honest and everything, I got to have you know, you want to tune in Friday. You do not want to miss Friday's show. Prairie View A&M head coach Tremaine Jackson will be live on the Cory Hogue Sports Show Friday, 1 p.m. If you haven't watched it, go check out. Search his name on Twitter, on the probably the Google machine will bring it up now. Tremaine Jackson had some things to say about his program not having any of the assistant coaches chosen to speak at the Texas High School Coaches Association convention. It's interesting. Very interesting. I'm not going to give thoughts on any of that till after I speak with him. We're going to hold all that for Friday. You do not want to miss it. 1 o'clock Friday, Tremaine Jackson, right here, Cory Hogue Sports Show. And to keep it honest with you today, something that I heard yesterday kind of sparked this thought right here. And it was Sam Houston head football coach Phil Longo said that he has never had a day where he dreaded going to work for 37 years. And that is admirable. for me because that's not me. That is not me at all. And I think part of it is the depression and the PTSD. It's funny that he said that yesterday because I sat inside the hotel room a mere 5 minutes from the hotel debating as to whether I truly even wanted to go. Not because I didn't want to, not because I don't enjoy seeing people. I met Lane Fobbs yesterday. I met Colin Neal. I got to see Cole Forster again. I got to meet other people. It was fantastic. And it's not that. I am such an introvert. And this might surprise some people, but I am. I'm very introverted. And that my brain will have a way of telling me to try to avoid those situations, those people, those crowds. And that's a fight for me. That is a fight that I have to battle. And those same things can creep in on doing the show. Do I really feel like it today? You can't say no. Just like, I didn't get a chance to exercise yesterday. I didn't exercise yesterday. But got back up this morning, got right back into my routine. Like I talk about with effort, attitude, response, and no excuses. Right now, it's about gaining consistency. That's what I'm really focused on. How can I win consistently every day? And it's been hard because the last 5 days I've not had good sleep. My PTSD, I'm going through one of those periods where my dreams, my nightmares, it's active. I am active. It has not been good. I get more irritable. This part will be in the attitude section of the earned book, or what I hoped ends up being an earned book. And I call it the hated eight. It's frustrated, agitated, aggravated. It just stings. I don't like being that way, but I get that way. So please pray for Alicia and Gabe that they can get through it. I start sleeping again soon. They would appreciate that. But those are the struggles. That's why it's hard for me to keep it consistent. And so consistently slightly pleasant days or slightly unpleasant days are wins. They're wins for me. Maybe they are for you. I don't know. And if you understand what I'm talking about, hey, you're not alone. We're on that same bus and we're getting better every day. Got the 2026 Southern Athletic Association predictions. They've got 8 football programs this year, and Maryville is beginning its second season as an affiliate before they become a full SAA member for the next academic year. So likely July 1st, 2026. That's usually when those take place. Barry and Trinity, the clear favorites again this year. They combined for a lot of wins, 21 wins last year. Barry won the conference. They were 7-0 undefeated. They beat Trinity at home, advanced to the Division III quarterfinals. Trinity finished 6-1 in the conference, with their only loss being at Barry. They won an NCAA playoff game. So who do I have? But you know what? Let's go backwards this time. Let me start at the bottom. Number 8. I've got Rhodes. They're still searching. They're searching for answers. They were 1-9 last year, winless in conference. The Lynx lost their final 8 games, outscored by more than 26 points per contest. That's just such a disparity, and it shows a sign of a talent gap. The question is, can Rhodes rebuild both lines quickly enough to escape the bottom of the standings? Because it comes down to line play, it comes down to depth, and that just doesn't happen or get added quickly. Number 7, I got Sewanee. They hired Joe Freitag. They have a new head coach, third one in 3 seasons. He was offensive coordinator at Monmouth, which won 5 Midwest Conference championships between 2016 and 2025. The Tigers last year were 3-7 overall, 1-6 in conference. They've got some pieces, but it's installing a new system, rebuilding some confidence. It's the first season. It's going to take time, and that's the question. How long is it going to take Freitag to establish stability after so many coaching changes right now? And that's some of that goes with administration. They've got to play into that as well. Number 6, I've got Southwestern Pirates. They showed some offensive prowess under Kreisel last year. But they finished 4-6 and 2-5 in the conference. And I think that's a little down from maybe where their standards would be. The problem has been defense. They allowed 35.7 points per game last year. And until those numbers prove, the offense trying to win shootouts is just very difficult to do. Can they make that improvement defensively to support some offensive playmakers that last year were emerging? That's the question I have for the Pirates. Number 5, I've got center. They finished 5-5 last year overall, 3-4 in conference. And listen, they're usually a little better than that. I think expectations for the Colonels are higher than that. They still are good defensively. They allow 20.8 points per game. That is outstanding, but offense is a struggle a lot of times for the Colonels. Look, they host Maryville, Rhodes, C1E, and Trinity. They got to travel to Millsaps and Berries. Those are tough games on the schedule. They could finish higher than 5th this year if that offense takes a step forward. They kind of develop a rushing attack. And that's the question. Can they get a consistent rushing attack, whatever you want to call it, to complement the passing attack? Number 4, I got Millsaps. They produced their first winning season since 2013 last year, and they are establishing themselves as a program on the rise. They averaged 33.8 points per game last year. They were very balanced offensively. The concern, as with a lot of teams that score points, is a lot of times the defense. They gave up nearly 29 per game and over 400 yards last year. Berry and Trinity exposed those weaknesses, but those weaknesses could be more of a talent gap than it being necessarily Millsaps. They just might not be there. Look, Trinity and Berry is a different level. Millsaps may not be there yet, but they are trending in that direction, and it only takes once for them to be in that same conversation, to have that offensive, to keep the offensive firepower, and to have the ability to compete with those top 2 teams. So that's the question. Can they get up there? Will they make a run at Berry or Trinity this year? You can't count them out anymore. Number 3, Maryville. They finished 7-3 overall and 4-3 last year in the SAA. The Scots had a very productive offense, averaging over 440 yards per game, converted nearly 49% of third down conversion attempts. That is just incredible. They host Berry and they host Millsaps this year, but their road games, Center and Trinity. Really watch that one. I think Berry and Trinity, Maryville's a little closer to that, but I think they might be closer to Millsaps range than they are Berry and Trinity. Not 100% sure of this, but that's kind of where I put them right now. So hosting Millsaps is a big advantage. Traveling to Center, I think that's a win for Maryville, but Trinity is going to be really challenging road trip for them headed down to San Antonio. But of those 4 games and those 4 teams I mentioned, splitting those, that gives you another winning season. And hey, you win 3 of those, you beat Trinity on the road, and all of a sudden you're in that conversation. Not just championship conversation. You're back in a playoff conversation as well. And so the question for Maryville, can that offense continue to produce enough to hang with Berry and Trinity and defeat Millsaps to try to retain their position right now? Number 2, I've got Trinity. Jeremy Urban coming into his 13th season at the helm. They are the biggest threat, always the biggest threat to Berry, and they host them this year, October 3rd in San Antonio. That is going to probably be the game. That is likely the conference championship game right there. Tigers finished 10-2 last season. Both losses came to Berry, including a playoff loss. The Tigers, though, they led the conference in total defense last year, 251 yards per game. So they're hard to run against. They only gave up 3 yards per rushing attempt last year. And they'll be nationally relevant again. But the question is, do they have enough offense this year? Is that defense able to replace some of the senior leadership and solve Berry and take that conference championship this year? Until you do it, October 3rd is your chance. Until you do it, I'm not buying it. I got to see it to believe it, which means, number 1, my conference champion prediction for the SAA is Berry. The Vikings are still the safest choice until someone can knock them off. They won all 7 of their conference games last year, reached the national quarterfinals. This program is doing a fantastic job. They do have a challenging schedule this year, though. They have to travel to play Trinity, Rhodes, that won't be much of a problem. But Maryville and Millsaps, those two could be sneaky. That could be where Maryville and Millsaps get a chance. They got Barry coming to their place. Got to take advantage of those opportunities. But Barry's better equipped than anyone else to survive those challenges and losses from graduation now. And so I still have them picked to win it. The question, though, can they remain? Do they still have that experience needed to remain the most complete team in the conference? That is my SAA 2026 football predictions. Don't know if anyone you saw on my Substack coming up here later on this afternoon will be a story about this. The Division II Management Council recommended emergency legislation yesterday that would replace the current eligibility system beginning with this academic year. Now, the Division II Executive Board still has to approve this, so it's not official yet about 5 for 5 coming to D2. But it is emergency legislation for immediate use, which means compliance offices, if this is passed, they would need to review all the current rosters, recruits, transfers, individual eligibility histories under the new system that says you've got 5 years to play 5 years. And you got to go back to when they announce it, when you start, when is your start date? Because it depends on when your 19th birthday is or when you start college football. And then also there's other exceptions for military service and some things like that. How many of those are in there? And doing this now, that's a problem, guys. That is a significant burden on these schools some of these don't even have a compliance office that really functions that well as it is. They've got limited staffing in there. This is going to be tough because you've got to do it. This isn't just football. You've got to do this throughout the entire department for every single sport. That might require several full-time compliance employees, and they don't have it. So what are they going to have to do? They're going to have to pay overtime. They're going to have to do things. You got to overwork people that are underpaid, and that's a hard thing about Division II. But the 5 for 5 rule is not going away. It's not just coming to D2 soon. I think it's coming to D3, and then that basically makes it through every division at that point. It's just going to filter its way on down. It is a very popular rule. How popular is it? This is what Conference USA Commissioner Judy MacLeod had to say about the 5 for 5 rule yesterday on a breakout session of it was a breakout session after her press conference yesterday at Conference USA Media Day.
Yeah, Texas has been great for Conference USA. There's so many different factors that go into expansion, and so it's hard to just say, we need someone else in Texas or anything like that. It's about the entire program's entire.
Okay, well, that was not the one I thought it was. That was not the 5 for 5 rule audio. That was one about expansion. Look at me being human again and messing up. Shocking. I know. The 5 for 5 rule audio, she mentioned how she was for it and how it makes sense. And often, well, in fact, you know what? I might be able to find it. I can find it. Here we go. Here it is. Here's the audio from Judy MacLeod, Conference USA Commissioner, on the 5 for 5 rule.
Seen some crazy things, but it makes sense. Like we haven't done a lot of things that made sense, to be really honest. But that is one that makes sense. Now some people aren't going to be able to utilize all 5 because they get hurt or something else happens. But that's why, I just think that 5 is the right number for college athletics, so they can get their degree. A lot of kids are getting a degree in 3 years now because they do summer school and other things, but it gives them that opportunity and then move on with their life.
That was Conference USA Commissioner Judy MacLeod talking about the 5-for-5 rule. She favors it. It's coming. Everyone that I've heard from has favored it. Very few have not. And it does seem like common sense, but just because it sounds like common sense doesn't mean it has to start right today. Division II's got to take a look at this. The additional staff hours, the legal interpretation, people are going to complain about others. You're going to have staffs looking into eligibility of rosters. There is so much in here that you're wading into that it could avoid if you started it next year. That's just a fact. And it gives coaches time to change because now they've got to look at their recruiting. How are they recruiting these people? How are they recruiting these players? They've got to look at that. They got to make some of these changes. If you're putting that in right now and you're taking away 3 or 4 players they could either be starters, they could be depth pieces. It doesn't matter. You're hurting that team and you're hurting that player and that kid that at this point of the season, like we're starting practice here soon. Can't be doing that right now. We gotta, and then you're gonna have legal challenges to it as well. So it's probably not even gonna take place anyway, because some D2 kids who say, "Oh, my eligibility's up," all bull, they're gonna sue. There's lawsuits coming. Why? I mean, we don't have to keep giving lawyers the money, the NCAA. You just don't have to. Wait 1 more year. I agree with the 5 years to play 5. I've said it on earlier shows. Just let's be smart about when we put this in. And why are we having this conversation anyway about the 5-for-5 rule? Oh, no, not that one. Nope, not that one. I think that one. Nope, not that one. That one, there's the right crime. How about that? Hey, why are we having this conversation about the 5-for-5 rule anyway? Because of COVID. Because of what happened when COVID hit in March and shut the country down, 2020. Right. I remember it was right after like my birthday time frame area and sports just shut down. And it was right before championship tournaments. And so the thing to do was to give these kids an extra chance. Well, we're 6 years later. We're in 2026. We're still dealing with COVID exemptions. That's why this is so important, because that's where the chaos and everything went haywire. They could have just done it for that one class. They did not. So here we are. We got to have the 5-for-5 rule. Let's do it smart. All right, let's do it smart. And also, there's not a lot of transfers left in the portal now anyway. How are you going to do that? They got to fill with less talented players. That's something Phil Longo talked about with Sam Houston yesterday. By the time he got in there and everything, the transfer portal pool, the talent level was not there, and it showed on the field in a big way. Some other things the D2 Management Council recommended is a D2 men's volleyball championship, potentially beginning spring 2029. They're trying to do this for 36 men's volleyball programs from 25-26. They expect 44 total in 26-27. The executive board must still consider, because this has a significant financial impact. Look, there's not unlimited money in D2. D2 gets a part, D3, both of them, they get a part of the money that comes from the NCAA Division I men's basketball tournament. And it's already divided up by a ton of sports. And now you want to divide it up by a sport that only had 36 teams last year and are expect 44. And then on top of all that, you're wanting schools to implement a new program with new scholarships at a time when the economy is not in a good spot and not headed in the right direction. It's not a good idea. It's not smart. I'm not saying let's not have a men's volleyball championship. Let's get more schools that participate first. Doing it for 44 schools? That's not it. That's not it. And especially considering, I think, in my opinion, with this economy going like it is, we're going to see cuts. Well, what's the first thing you're going to cut? You're going to cut men's volleyball. Keep it a club sport or something right now. Revisit this in the future. But right now is not the time. There's some proposed rule changes for NCAA baseball next year. I don't know if you guys saw this. Division I programs could be allowed a system that permits players to challenge balls and strikes when the technology is available. So the ABS system, if you will, it could be used during regular season and postseason games, like the Southeastern Conference that tested that during their tournament, their conference tournament in May. I liked it. Southeastern Conference, Big 12, Big 10, ACC. Oh yeah, sure, they can all do that. But what about the Southland Conference? What about the United Athletic Conference or Unison Sports? You know, the ASUN. What about them? They don't always have the money to implement these ABS systems. But in doing it for conference tournament only is fine too. But you still got to be at a place that has that technology, which means you're likely going to have to find a minor league ballpark. AAA right now, it's not even in AA yet. It's in AAA. And look, there are a lot of these rule changes is college baseball trying to look a little more like Major League Baseball. That's what part of this is. It is only experimental for D2 and D3, but it feels like it's coming. And again, where are they going to get the money from? Where? For these systems, where are you going to do it? And how many of these conferences at D2, D3 even have the money now to rent out a facility that has that ability right now? And there's limited facilities in Texas with the ABS ability. Till things expand a little bit, maybe, again, not saying this is bad for later, but we're kind of pushing some things that I just don't think that we can force down some other schools right now. Now, positive changes. Here's a positive change. An 18-inch square base, the MLB size. I like that. You can still use the 15-inch as the standard, as a current option. You can still use it, but now you have to have a double first base. It's mandatory for all games. I also like that. That's a player safety issue. As a rec league coach who has seen a first baseman get run over when a double base would have prevented that, come on, give it to me all day long for every area. Like last night, Major League Baseball should have the double base. Honestly, last night, if you saw Bryce Harper, they were playing, the Phillies Dodgers were playing. The Phillies shortstop got the ball, threw it over to Harper. It took a weird bounce. He had to back up into the foul line a little bit and collided with the runner. If you have a double base, there's less chance of a collision right there. Player safety. I want Bryce Harper to play. I like watching him play. Let's keep these guys in the game. Some other positive changes. Video review changes. And this is going to matter, especially when it gets like the College World Series next year. Plays that can change from fair to foul and any tag play, regardless of where it is on the field, are also reviewable. Now, Division I is also going to use a 30-second timer. They have had a timer here, but this is a 30-second timer that's going to go between batters. So that'll speed up a little bit during mound visits. That'll speed those up a bit because we know coaches give them a little too long during offensive timeouts. They get 30 seconds. Those, I don't believe those were really previously timed outside of what the umpire felt like. Kind of felt like soccer timing rules in a way. Now, all three divisions can seek permission to test. This is a test rule. The limit of 2 pitcher disengagements per batter, that MLB ruled, where if you have a third disengagement that results in a balk unless you successfully record an out on a pickoff attempt. I get it. I get it. You know, I think I'm 50-50 on that rule. I can see for, I can see against that rule. I think you can give a runner an unfair advantage, but if you don't get him after the second time, then and you don't get him on that third time, well, then, geez, why are you still throwing over, right? A delay, trying to get a different pitch, figure out what you want to do. That's my thoughts on it. And then this one, also MLB. Pitchers entering the game would be required to face at least 3 hitters, a hitter minimum, unless the inning ends before the third batter is faced, just like MLB. It's experimental. So another one of those experimental rules that's available in conferences for all three divisions. So you could see it during conference play, only you won't see it during the College World Series. All right. Some other things that are interesting to you non-FBS fans. Conference USA expansion, right? We haven't really heard much about it. We know some teams are in there. Well, Conference USA is a conference that got 10 teams. And they would like to keep an even number if they can. They don't have to. But Judy MacLeod yesterday's Conference USA Commissioner was asked about this during the press conference. This is what she had to say to that question. This is audio only, so if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, you will see me, but you will hear Judy's voice. This is what she had to say during her press conference about expansion.
Yeah, Texas has been great for Conference USA. There's so many different factors that go into expansion, and so it's hard to just say, we need someone else in Texas or anything like that. It's about the entire programs, entire universities, and their fit within our league and what we're trying to do. So it's definitely something we will look at, but not a targeted expansion.
Not a targeted expansion. I mean, the question was more about expansion in Texas, because I think a lot of people have on mind like Tarleton State, maybe even Abilene Christian. But Texas isn't necessarily the target. There's only one Texas team right now, and that's Sam Houston. So we had a breakout, and I had a follow-up question with Judy during the breakout. Now, you will hear some other people in the background because the breakout room was rather noisy. That's what it is. But here's what I asked her exactly: what is the conference looking for when they look for schools for possible expansion? And here's what she said.
A lot of people don't even think, but we look hard at the academics, their academic profile, the alignment. I think I probably say it too much, but the alignment from like the board through the president down through the athletics director and just the vision of what athletics can do. We realize the university is not there to have athletics, right? So how does athletics complement and help the university? And so it's a really, we look at a ton of data: competitive, academic, compliance, market, student engagement, everything. So it's hard to, there's not like one formula that everybody might fit. Somebody else might fit for a different reason. But we've managed to find programs that were ready to compete and really have contributed.
Seems to have come. That was Conference USA Commissioner Judy MacLeod yesterday on what they look for when they're expanding. And does it sound like they're looking for a Tarleton or an Abilene Christian? Sure does. Conversations aren't easy. We've been in a lull with some of this, and we talked about that briefly too, about there's too much chaos going on right now legislatively and stuff that I think conference realignment takes a back seat during all this stuff, because everybody's trying to wrap their head around the 5-for-5 rules and the College Sports Commission that's coming out with different legislation and trying to understand what that's going to do, because it all rolls downhill. It's just chaos. So right now, conference realignment chaos is not being added into it because nobody has time to think about that stuff at this moment. I don't think. Finally, I have a Tour de France update. More big names. I saw Tim Merlier is gone. He abandoned after stage 15. That's one that he had a hard time through those mountain stages. Some sprinters do, but you usually making that time cut is always hard. It's always hard. Oh man, the name just slipped my head and I don't have it up here right now. Let me go find him. Got to get back on the Tour de France. I apologize for that. me see, stage 16 general ranking. See if I can find them that way. Leipowitz. Yes, Florian Leipowitz had a horrible crash in the individual time trial yesterday. Tore up, like broke his collarbone. Same thing happened to Jonas Vingegaard. Broke the collarbone. So that's 3 abandonments of namely people. And Tim Miller's won a couple of stages this year. That's what's hard, man. This Tour de France is no joke. It is physically demanding every day. You're going 100 miles and more. You're going in the Alps. They got the Alpe d'Huez coming up this weekend. And then you got crashes and broken collarbones and everything else. Hopefully they can stay safe. That's the hope as we go on through the rest of this tour and the rest of this week. That wraps up today's show. We'll be back Friday. Do not forget, you don't want to miss Friday. Tremaine Jackson, Prairie View A&M head coach, will be here live. We're going to talk about it because he's not wrong. So let's have those uncomfortable truths. Thank you so much for watching. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, this will be on Substack. So I want to say thank you if you're watching on there. Before I get going, let me check and see. There's no one that has commented, so that is outstanding as well. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for listening. Be back Friday, 1 o'clock. Tremaine Jackson. Until then, stay blessed.
He's clear, sharp, and bold. Covering every team, every season, every story worth being told. The Cory Hogue Sports Show. The Cory Hogue Sports Show. Big stories and real conversations bring the truth.